Hi, everybody. So good to see you here today. Come say hi in the chat. Tell me what you're looking forward to. Say hi to another member who's joining us live. Hello, 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 everybody. So great to see you here. We're going to get started and more people will join us, I'm sure of it. We've got a great topic today. I'm very excited to share it with you, and I think that you're going to enjoy it. I think it's going to be really relevant to your life, your lives, both professionally and personally, right, in life and at work. So let me go ahead and share my screen and let's get into it. All right, so for those of you in our community and who've been joining the group coaching calls, the live feedback sessions that we do multiple times a month, you know that we've been focusing on conflict management, right? So this is something that is essential for good communication skills, for being able to, interact with people at work, in life, because you know what, conflict is a very real part of life. We can't completely avoid conflict, even if you're non-confrontational. We can't completely avoid it. There are times where it happens, and guess what? We have to deal with it. We have to know what to say, what to do, how to react, how to respond, and so on. So I'm going to teach you strategies today. We have a lot to cover, so if you do have questions, I welcome them. Just say them to the end. That way we can address them, and who knows, your question might get answered. Also, stick around to the very end because I have a very special announcement, like I mentioned in my newsletter and in my community post here in Explearning Academy. So let's go ahead and let me introduce myself for those of you who may not know me very well. I'm Mary Daphne. I am CEO and co-founder of Explearning and Advanced English, and I am head of community here at Explearning Academy. And I have a lot of passions and a lot of interests, but what my main passion professionally is really helping you unlock the power of your communication. Communication is so essential for everything we do in life, from our personal relationships to our work relationships, our business endeavors, the list goes on. So whether you're looking to improve your social fluency, build your confidence, master cross-cultural interactions, I'm here to guide you. And my own journey includes nearly 2 decades in international corporate communications, television, live broadcasting, education, teaching. So I like to mix everything together and offer you an amazing experience with my lessons, with our modules, with our challenges, with our programs, and with what we do at Explearning Academy as well. Along the way, I earned degrees in French and communication as my undergrad. That was my bachelor's. I was a double major. I also have 2 master's degrees. One is a master's degree from Bachajir University, and I have another one, an advanced master's degree from Columbia University in New York City. In terms of what I've been teaching for the last nearly 2 decades, communication, social skills, executive communication, English, French, and for over 16 years now, I've been focusing on how technology, research, and proven methods really can give you the best results, the best learning outcomes, so that you can excel in your careers, you can excel in life, in your interpersonal communication as well. And my first kind of experience with cross-cultural communication, because it is a big theme here. I speak several languages, I teach language, I teach communication, and my first kind of professional foray into cross-cultural communication was when I got a Fulbright award, a Fulbright grant, and that led me overseas, and I have been integrating that cross-cultural, intercultural component ever since in my own teaching and my courses and you know, I'm here to guide you with that as well. And I am a teacher trainer, so I teach teachers how to teach, and coaches, and I've trained teachers and coaches around the world and also in New York City. So that's a little bit about me. You can always find me on LinkedIn. You can follow me there, and you know, you can see more about what I do. And if not, you know, you also will get you'll get access to our coaching sessions when you join our coaching program. So that's just a little bit of a background on me. So let's talk about conflict mastery. Like I said, it's part of, you know, it's a natural part of life. It happens in the workplace. It happens in our lives. And when we master conflict, we become, you know, really adept at managing conflict. We can improve team dynamics, productivity. We can improve our interpersonal relationships, build rapport with people, and not to mention our productivity, right? So, you know, effective conflict resolution, we're going to get into this, but a little bit of an overview. You know, we look at active listening, open lines of communication, compromise, really focusing on the problem, not on the person, not making it personal, not making it an attack on the person or about yourself if you're, you know, more of a highly sensitive person, or if you're sensitive, right, not taking it to yourself, and always trying to understand the other person's perspective. So that's just a little bit of an overview. Why is it so important to master conflict? If you have any ideas, drop them in the chat. You know, it's really important to unlock our full potential. If you are part of our program, if you are part of, you know, the YouTube channels and the podcasts, these are resources that I create for you for professional and personal development. So if you're here in the community, if you're here joining, you know, watching the channels, Explearning Communication and Advanced English for Professionals, those two professional development channels, as well as the podcast, then you know and you feel, right, that professional development and personal growth are important. I certainly believe that. I think, you know, we can work on ourselves every day and improve and get better and do something even greater. So unlocking our potential is really important. And so if it's a conflict is unresolved, it's going to hold you back, right? And you're not really going to reach your full potential if you don't resolve those conflicts. So we're going to talk about resolving conflict, of course. Building stronger relationships. We all want to nurture positive relationships, right? Both at work and in life, right? This is important. We're social creatures. We are wired for social interaction, and we crave that human connection with people, not surface level, but actually real connection with people. So we want to strengthen our relationships. We want to build trust with people. We want to have collaborative environments with people. We also want to be productive, right? So if you have unresolved conflict, that is easily a productivity crusher, right? And so if you address conflict head on, you're going to be able, in a much better spot, to be more productive and happier and just more content with what you do in life and in work, at work as well. It also reduces stress and anxiety, right? These are things that we really don't want a lot of in our life. So we got to resolve conflict. And also for those of you who are leaders or rising, aspiring leaders, you know, the ability to navigate conflict well is going to give you that boost in your leadership, right? It's going to make you stand out more as a credible leader, as somebody who can rise to the occasion, as somebody who can, you know, in the face of adversity, in the face of conflict, be there leading with confidence and poise and inspire others to do the same. So these are all really great things. In terms of understanding conflict, right, at work, so a lot of the times conflict stems from differences. They could be differences in your value system, your goals, how you see the world, how you treat a problem, perceptions, worldviews. There could be misunderstandings at the heart of that. Usually there are, right? So poor communication can exacerbate conflict. This is part of why we really want to take charge of our communication skills and improve our communication skills, nonverbal and verbal. And that is what we do here in the Academy. So we've got to know conflict resolution tools because they're essential for a healthy work environment. And understanding the root cause, really like why did this conflict start in the first place, is the key to effective conflict resolution. Because without that, you don't really know where to start, right? You don't know what was the cause of that conflict. So we've really got to pay attention to what that root cause could be. Okay, so there are personality conflicts, right, where people clash in terms of personality. They just don't get along, they don't have rapport, and they don't have the communication skills to build that rapport, to create that rapport that's not there naturally. Interdepartmental conflicts, right? Maybe there are conflicts between teams or departments. This happens too. Conflict of interest, so conflicting goals or priorities between groups of people or individuals. So these are just a few types of conflicts that can arise in the workplace. So we're going to talk more about strategies. I have a lot of strategies for you, but here are some, 3 of them that I want to share right now. So effective communication is really important, as we mentioned, right? If you have open dialogue, transparent dialogue, active listening, you'll be able to understand people's points of views, right? Why did this conflict happen in the first place? What made that person to say what they said or to, react the way they did? Mediation is when we bring a neutral third party in. If for some reason the 2 people involved in that conflict are not able to resolve it and it just keeps getting out of control, then, we have mediation, right? So that will be somebody who facilitates resolution to help find common ground, because sometimes, the 2 people involved cannot see eye to eye and there's just no real conflict resolution to be seen. So that's when we bring in a neutral third party. And conflict resolution training is also very important. So if you are on a team and you think your team would benefit from conflict resolution training, then that's something that you can offer them. And obviously, Explearning Academy would be a great resource for you to do that, because we have programs like that. And I'm going to talk more about that later. All right. So like we said, it's natural, right? This is not something that we can just avoid, even if we're non-confrontational and you're the type of person who never gets into fights and never has conflicts. Well, guess what? That's just not realistic, because it happens. And what we really need to do, what we really need to focus on is not avoid conflict at all costs, but to be able to resolve it when it happens, because it will happen. Okay, so fostering communication, open communication, transparency, active listening, respectful dialogue, promoting a culture of collaboration and teamwork so people feel safe to express their ideas. There's that psychological safety there where people, can express themselves without severe repercussions and ramifications. And when the conflict happens, you want to address it immediately. You don't want to wait, because it will get worse if you wait. And then also, celebrate those successes and learn from setbacks and failures, because that's kind of what life's about, right? Learning from mistakes, learning from our failures, and then, improving. What about interpersonal conflict, right? So we talked a little bit about workplace conflict. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about interpersonal conflict. So again, this can arise from different value systems, goals, perceptions, worldviews, Poor communication and misunderstandings exacerbate the conflict. And then when conflict is unresolved, it actually damages relationships and trust. Think back to, your own experience. When you've had issues with people, or you've had conflicts that have gone that went unresolved, are you still friends with them? Are you still in a good spot with those people? Probably not, right? So it definitely damages relationships and erodes trust. On the flip side, active listening can help, create open communication channels, and it's crucial for conflict resolution. And when you're in a conflict resolution mindset and mode, you really want to try to understand the other person's perspective. Try to get into their shoes. Try to understand where they're coming from. Even if you don't necessarily agree with them, you probably won't agree with them if you had a conflict in the first place, but try to get to understand their viewpoint. It will help you approach it with empathy. We're going to talk more about empathy as well. So when you have a conflict, be open and honest about your feelings, right? Don't shy away from expressing how you actually feel. If you can label the emotion, even better. Actively listen to the other person's perspective. Again, we want to focus on the problem, not on the person. You don't have a problem with the person necessarily, but you do have a problem with the problem, right? So when you are addressing conflict resolution, right, you're looking to resolve the conflict, you really want to strive for finding common ground. What can you actually agree on? What can you see eye to eye on? And you want to work together to find that win-win outcome, a mutually beneficial solution. All right. So in terms of personal relationships as well, that is a type of interpersonal conflict. Like we said, miscommunication, it's really at the heart of conflict. Think back to a time when there was a misunderstanding because maybe there was not any active listening that happened. Maybe people didn't truly share how they felt and they didn't express themselves well enough. Maybe there were poor communication occurred, right? So lack of empathy. These are all communication issues that we actually want to avoid. So when people have different ideas and value systems, that can cause conflict, especially if they don't have an open mind about another person's worldview or opinion or value system. So it's really important to actually be respectful of everyone and respectful of people's differences in their values and in their beliefs, and try to understand, where they're coming from. And the only way you can really understand where someone's coming from is to actually communicate with them and to ask them those questions and talk about, what you believe and how you like. I'm not talking about, what you believe. I'm talking about, your opinions, right? It could be as simple as, what do you think about this strategy for our campaign, right? You might have two very different beliefs on how you would approach that campaign. So that's, that's really important to consider. And if there are unresolved issues that never were addressed, you kind of just shoved it under the rug, like when you're vacuuming a space and you lift up the rug and there are all these crumbs there, you wonder how they got there, right? Were they just kind of tossed about and put under that rug so that they could be out of sight? Well, that happens with unresolved issues, right? Where you're kind of sweeping it under the rug to kind of like clear out the area, but it's not really solving the issue. It's not really making the space any cleaner. You're just removing it from sight. So address these issues, because those past conflicts are like skeletons in the closet. They will creep up on you, and sometimes when you least expect it. All it takes is for someone to have a breaking point, right? Or you to have that breaking point, and then all of a sudden, bam, conflict. So something to keep in mind. There could be emotional baggage, right? So past experiences, past experience with that person, with, with conflict, that can heavily impact personal relationships. And guess what? Lead to conflict. So really key to recognize your own emotional baggage. And then if you need be, seek professional help on it. There are, therapists are trained to help out with that. So, it doesn't necessarily always require a therapist. Oftentimes it's about talking it through with people, engaging in good communication practices and conveying and relaying that information to that person so that they're aware. And sometimes you can get, past that emotional baggage that way. There could be power struggles. So, these can happen in personal relationships when one person tries to exert control over the other person or exert their dominance. So that's an imbalance in power dynamics. And it's really important, to establish equal power dynamics in any type of friendship, relationship, business partnership, and really collaborate, because we want to find mutually beneficial solutions. We want to find those win-win situations. There could be lack of boundaries, right? Boundaries are actually healthy. So if there are lack of boundaries, well, that might lead to conflict. Maybe not immediately, right? Again, that sweeping under the rug situation. But eventually, if there are boundaries that have not been created or not respected, well, then there might be conflict there. So if boundaries, and everybody has, different boundaries, different comfort level around boundaries, but it's important to talk about those with the people that you are in these, friendships and relationships with, because you need to share what those boundaries are for you and maintain healthy and respectful boundaries so that you can have healthy and respectful relationships. We also have we have several sessions on boundaries in the community. So you can, if you're in the community, you can, and you're part of either of the two plans, either the full access coaching plan or the self-study plan, you can easily search for that in our community. Just write boundaries and it will pop up all the different lessons and sessions. So that might be something you are considering watching. Okay, conflict resolution. This helps us create healthy relationships, promote collaboration, achieve peace personally and professionally. I think everybody wants peace at the end of the day, right? So important things here. So we touched a little bit about some of the causes of conflict, but let's dive a little bit deeper. Think back to your own conflict recently, maybe even today, maybe even before this call, maybe last year, whenever. Think back to a conflict. What caused it? You don't have to share it in the chat, but think about it, right? Maybe write it down on a piece of paper, write it on your phone if you have a note-taking app open. What were the causes of those conflict? Maybe it's one of these. So miscommunication, right? When we don't express how we actually feel, or what we actually need, or what our boundaries are, there can be miscommunication because lack of clarity can lead to a misunderstanding, and a misunderstanding will inevitably lead to a conflict. And so you don't really want to leave room for interpretation, because a lot of times people are going to misinterpret something. If it's nebulous, if it's vague, if it's abstract, if it's unclear, it's going to get misinterpreted. And that creates friction and tension. And yes, it creates conflict. So difference in values, that will cause a disagreement, which then causes a conflict, right? You might have a different perspective on what's considered right, what's considered wrong. So it's important to talk these out, right? because we don't want to create tension. We don't want to create animosity, and we certainly don't want conflict. There could be competition for resources. If there are limited resources, or if there's a perspective of limited resources, meaning as opposed to an abundance, right? So if there's a scarcity mindset around resources, as opposed to an abundance mindset around resources, or there are actually few resources to go around, right? Limited resources, that could lead to competition. It could lead to conflict, right? When there's not enough to go around, or there's a perception of there's not enough to go around, right? A lot of times people perceive that scarcity, and it's not actually there, but they perceive that scarcity. They think, oh, there's not enough to go around, when in fact there is enough to go around. They might fight over what's available, right? This could be, competition for a job, competition for a role, competition for an internship, competition for opportunities. These are the types of things that are resources, as well as other things. They could be material things as well. Okay. Power struggles, right? We talked a little bit about power dynamics. When there are individuals or groups that vie for power, they vie for control, they want to be, the dominant force. There could be competing interests. There could be competing ambitions, which then can cause a clash and disputes and conflict. Okay. So different values, belief systems, opinions, worldview, competition for resources. That could be perceived competition for resources, or actual competition for resources or power. There's miscommunication, lack of communication, unclear communication, right? Maybe there's some unresolved issues that were never addressed, never got resolved. And then there could also be personality clashes or incompatible working styles. Look, you're not going to like everybody you work with, and everybody you work with is not going to like you. It's just, that's how it is, right? We can't be liked by everyone. This is how it is. But we can be professional, particularly in a work setting where, you don't choose necessarily who you work with. You choose who you're married to, you choose who you're friends with, but you can't really choose who you work with necessarily, right? So we have to figure out a way to work with people, even if we don't get along with them. And that's a lot of what this conflict management and resolution is about, right? Being able to still have a job and work with people and, carry on with our everyday without fighting with the people that we just don't get along with necessarily. Why is conflict such a drain? Well, decreased productivity, decreased efficiency, increased stress, increased tension, negative impact on relationships and teamwork and team building, right? Reduced morale, reduced job satisfaction. The more you fight with people at work or have that tension with people, the less, excited you are to go into work and to interact with those people and to do your job, right? It can really drain you. And there's also potential for escalation and further damage. So again, these are things that we don't want to, let fester. We need to address these because impacts of conflict are huge. So that brings me to some practical strategies. I love practical strategies. That's one of the ways that I like to help you all, because I apply practical strategies to my life, and I think they're a great way to improve our communication skills and to implement, to have better outcomes in life and at work. So active listening, super important. It's so important that I created a whole challenge about active listening. So if this is something you want, then come join us in our community. If you're in the community, check it out. It's in challenges. It is there for you. Lots of resources, lots of wonderful modules and videos. and conversations about active listening, not to mention some great worksheets as well. So it's really about paying full attention to the other person, not interrupting them, not overstepping, not overspeaking, trying to show empathy, understanding their point of view by, again, listening to them, talking to them, asking pertinent questions, open-ended questions, then paraphrasing, summarizing their points, right? These are ways of active listening. And again, like I said, we have a whole challenge dedicated to active listening because it's just that important. It's just that important. Effective communication, of course, as we know, that's why we're here. You know, one great thing, so we practiced this in our live coaching session and feedback session yesterday, in fact, and we practiced I statements. This is easier said than done, right? This is a revolutionary strategy, complete game changer, but it's not as easy as you would think, right? So when you're doing an I statement, you're actually, you know, putting yourself into the mindset that you're not going to blame somebody, even though that might be what your first inclination is. You don't blame that person. Instead, you focus on how you felt, right? I feel frustrated when I'm expressing my ideas and I don't feel heard. As opposed to, you don't listen to me when I'm speaking. I prepared my meeting points very carefully and you guys don't listen, right? That's a very different communication and tone. And so I statements help you remove blame, because blame is not going to get you anywhere if you're trying to resolve conflict. It just won't. There's also really great ways of using nonverbal cues, right? Because communication is not just what we say, but how we say it. So our tone of voice, our paralanguage, our body language, our micro expressions, our facial expressions, our gestures, so many things. So of course, yes, we do have another challenge about nonverbal communication. So definitely check that out if this is something that not just that you're struggling with, like everybody could use this. And a lot of times people are just not even aware of the importance of nonverbal communication, because it's not just about verbal communication, not just the words we speak, but also how we say what we say, what our body language does, what our facial expressions do, and so forth, and so on. Very good. So collaborative problem solving, right? Finding common ground, finding common goals, working together to find those solutions that benefit everyone, a win-win situation. So this really encourages collaboration. It encourages brainstorming. It encourages kind of thinking through the different perspectives that people have, because that's the beauty of diverse worldviews, right? Everybody's going to approach a problem or something to be solved differently, and that's good. That's really great. So we can find different perspectives on things and come up with a creative solution. Emotional intelligence, another huge one. We also have a challenge about emotional intelligence in our community. So recognizing and managing your own emotions and reactions and being able to recognize that in other people as well. It helps us show empathy towards people to try to understand their emotions, and that will serve you a long way. So emotional intelligence is huge. And then, of course, we have mediation. So if for some reason you're not getting anywhere resolving the conflict with that person that you're involved in this conflict with, you might have to call in a neutral third party. And that's okay. That's not the end of the world. A lot of times, if they're a good mediator, they will facilitate communication and they will help you find a resolution, which is what we want at the end of the day. That's the goal. So they can provide an unbiased perspective. So this is actually really important, right? We don't want somebody to take sides, your side or the other person's side. You want them to be neutral. You want them to be able to have an objective, unbiased perspective, to be able to see both sides of the argument, okay? and then they can help guide the conversation towards a mutually agreeable outcome, meaning an outcome that will benefit both you and the other person that you're having this conflict with. So finding common ground is huge. Again, it's really important to be able to do this through active listening. There's really no other way to find common ground because you don't know what the other person, what's important to them, what their interests are, if you don't talk to them and if you don't listen. Makes sense, right? So what are their goals? What are their interests? What do they want to do? What is their objective? What do they believe? How do they think, right? What kind of problem solver are they? What kind of person are they? Find areas where you agree on something, even if it's that you both love eating the, ginger curry chicken at lunch. It could be as simple as that. You both love that dish from the cafeteria at work. Simple as that, okay? Just start with finding one common ground piece, right? Even those small ones matter because they then start opening the door to, okay, what else are you interested in? And then maybe you hear about their trip to Thailand, and maybe you went to Thailand, and maybe, you both had an amazing time there. And all of a sudden you notice you have things in common with this person. Pretty amazing, pretty incredible. So you want to start small and then build on shared interests and understandings because that's going to help you find a solution. And the other thing here too is that it's not about winning, right? It's not about winning. It's about finding a solution, a mutually beneficial agreement for both of you, okay? Because winning might only feel good in that one short moment, but then you still are left with this conflict that is unresolved, and that's not fun. So be willing to compromise, right? Find the middle ground. Be willing to, let go of something that you actually wanted, but what you actually wanted is being addressed. And same with them, right? That's what a win-win is. There's compromise on both sides, give and take. But if the big issue is being met, if the big needs are being met, then that's a win-win for everybody. And speaking of win-win solutions, right, we really want to focus on collaboration, not on competition, right? So find those shared interests, find those shared goals that we've discovered and uncovered through active listening. Brainstorm some creative options. Think outside of the box. Zigzag, right? Mutual gain is the name of the game. And then think about, okay, well, what is the trade-off here, right? If I concede to that, would you be willing to do that, right? So it's really a conversation. It's a negotiation. And, there might be some concessions that, in fact, there will probably most likely be concessions, but that's just part of negotiating, right? And then at the end of the day, you win when you find a solution that benefits everyone, where everyone feels satisfied with the outcome, everyone feels heard and understood, and you just feel good about it, right? Maybe you didn't get 100% of what you wanted, but you got 90% of what you wanted, and so did they. And now guess what? You have a friend or you have a colleague that you're actually on good terms with. That's huge. That's huge. Now, in terms of interpersonal relationships, right, restoring harmony is important. So when you want to, when you're in that conflict resolution mindset, you're repairing and rebuilding trust. Trust is very difficult created and can be easily broken sometimes. Depends on the nature of that relationship. But if this is an important person to you, important friend, important partner, whatever kind of relationship it is, then you really do want to then shift the focus on repairing and rebuilding trust. Trust is the foundation, right? So forgive past hurts, forgive past, conflict, and move on, and don't resent. Let go of that feeling, because that doesn't really move us in the right direction. Try to practice empathy, right? Try to understand the other person's perspective by talking to them, by listening to them, by understanding, what happened, why they did what they did, or why you did what you did, or how they felt. So this is through open and honest communication, right? And not just talking about, what happened, what transpired, but how it made you feel, right? How you felt when that, situation happened or that conflict occurred. And what do you need? Do you need to talk about boundaries? Do you need something else? Do you need to, create boundaries? Do you need to talk through, goals? Do you need to see if you're on the same page as this person? And, there's always things like mediation and couples therapy if it's not going the way that you want it to, right? In terms of conflict resolution. So a lot of information, I know, but that's great. You have a lot to think about. And I always encourage you to watch the replay of this. And let's talk a little bit now about what effective communication looks like when we talk about conflict management and conflict resolution, because as you know, conflict happens, but we can resolve conflict through effective communication. So we've got clear and open communication, right? This is transparent, open lines of communication. This is how we're going to get to resolving conflict. Why? Because people are going to express themselves, what their thoughts are, what their feelings are, what their concerns are. Speaking through I statements if something occurred and it bothers you, as opposed to placing blame on somebody. We talked about why that's not the way to resolve conflict and why that exacerbates conflict, which we don't want to do. Empathy and understanding, right? These are super important when there's a conflict. You want to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Why is that important? Because it allows you to find common ground, and common ground helps you find a solution. You might not get there immediately, right? But over time, maybe it takes a couple of minutes, maybe a couple hours, maybe a few days. It really depends on the nature of the conflict, on who's involved, how big of an impact that conflict had, what the consequences were, if it was like a work conflict or a personal conflict. Every conflict is different, but empathy, if you can put in empathy there, then you are well on your way to resolving conflict. And even preventing future conflicts with that person, right? Active listening, super essential, right? You really do want to not focus on what you're going to say and how you appear to that person, right? Oh, do I appear calm and composed, or do they think, are they taking me seriously? Whatever thoughts are going through your mind, don't think about that. Now's not the time to think about that. But rather focusing on the person. What are they saying? How are they saying it? What is their perspective? How are you approaching it with empathy and not being judgmental and not interrupting? That's really crucial, right? You don't want to judge the person just as much as you don't want to be judged either. Nonverbal communication, right? We talked about this with nonverbal communication being body language, facial expressions, micro expressions, gestures, hand gestures, tone of voice. We convey emotions and our intentions this way. And people are giving you cues about this. So this is part of active listening for those cues, not just with your ears, but with your eyes, right? Your senses. This will help you enhance your understanding of how people are feeling in that moment. Okay. And then to de-escalate conflict, because when it happens, you want to know what to do immediately. Well, first, pay full attention. What's going on? Don't interrupt. Avoid blaming, right? Think what are you really hearing there? What are you hearing? Okay. Focus on, empathy, acknowledging and validating their perspective, their emotions, focusing on interests. What is it that they need? What do they want? What are they interested in getting? What are they interested in procuring? What are they interested in maybe even being, right? And doing down the line, right? Think about what their goals could be. Ask them. What's their position? What is driving their position? Finding common ground, right? So exploring shared interests, even if it's simple, like, oh yeah, I love the ginger chicken dish from our cafeteria. Simple as that. Oh, I listen to that kind of music too. Cool. Oh yeah, I went camping, in the Adirondacks too. Cool. All right, something in common. What else? What else do we have in common? This is going to help create rapport and help create a foundation for collaborating, right? And then being open to compromise, because you're going to have to compromise. That's just how negotiations work in general. But try to find solutions that benefit everybody. We want a win-win. We want to make sure everyone leaves happy. So in life, not everything has to be a battle, right? Not everything has to be something you fight over, okay? Choose your battles wisely. So you don't have to have every disagreement turn into this big 3-hour conflict. Sometimes it's okay and even better to just let things go, right? Just let it go. Use I statements also in this context, not just at work, but an I statement for a personal and interpersonal conflict, because this is going to help you avoid blame. And the sooner you can avoid blame, the sooner you will resolve conflict. Also, try to seek compromise. A lot of the times there's no winner, there's no loser. Everybody can be a winner if they feel good about, resolving the conflict and they have moved on from there and you've repaired the relationship, or you're on your way to repairing the relationship. So that's oftentimes what the best outcome will be. The best solution is a compromise where everyone gives a little, right? There are concessions they make and they'll get a little. Maybe they'll even get a lot, because if you talk about it, maybe, your interests align. And then apologize. It's not weak to apologize. It's a strength. And, if you've played a role in the conflict, own up to that. Take accountability for your actions. Apologize. Be willing to apologize, right? A sincere apology goes a long way, and you can mend the relationship, you mend the fences, you restore trust. So be that person to say you're sorry in a heartfelt, sincere way. So how do we apply this to our personal life? Well, you really want to think about how you can be actively listening, not just in conflict, but in communication in general. Communication is a two-way street, right? We speak and we listen. And we want to do those two things equally as best we can. So open communication is part of that too. You want to try to understand the other person's perspective. What is their, what's their jam? Learn about it by talking to them. And especially in disagreements, this is what we want to do. We want to understand why that person feels that way, or what you said maybe rubbed them the wrong way. I statements to take blame out of the equation and to express your feelings and your needs honestly and clearly. And to do that, you need to identify the emotion driving that behavior. How do you feel? Why did you get so upset? So first you have that intra-personal communication, right, with yourself. You have that conversation with yourself and say, oh, why do I feel that way? Okay, let me see. What are my emotions here? Label that feeling, label that emotion. And then after you do that, talk out a possible win-win, right? Compromise, collaborate with them, brainstorm. How can you resolve this conflict? How can you, resolve it now so that it won't pop up later in the future? We don't want to sweep it under the rug. We want to lift the rug up and vacuum under there so that it's nice and clean and no more crumbs. And then, of course, professional help like therapy or counseling That's always an option too. So that brings me to my special announcement. Yes, we've got an amazing 10-day challenge all about confident conflict management. This is a comprehensive 10-day challenge, and I'm so excited to bring it to you because it is a big deal, right? Being able to resolve conflict and know what to do and what to say and how to say it, it's going to put you so far ahead of so many communicators and establish yourself as an effective communicator at work and in life, because conflict happens in all those places, right? Do you feel like conflict is draining your energy? Probably, right? If it's not resolved, or if it's happening frequently, is it damaging relationships? And do you want to be able to navigate disagreements with poise and confidence and ease? Because they do happen. Well, this 10-day challenge is going to help you to transform your approach to conflict and to really become a master of your communication. If you're able to address conflict and know how to not just avoid it necessarily, because again, we can't always avoid it. Even if you're non-confrontational, it happens. You know, this is going to help you become an even better communicator, especially in the face of conflict. So we've got that 10-day challenge. Who is this challenge for? So my question is, are any of these people you? Are any of these people you? And if so, then the Confident Conflict Management Challenge is perfect for you. So are you a professional who wants to improve your communication and your collaboration with colleagues? Do you want to become more effective as a leader by resolving team conflicts? Maybe you've noticed that as a leader, you have people on your team who are having conflicts left and right, and they're not getting along. And you're in that position of trying to resolve conflicts. Do you want to build stronger relationships with your clients, with your partners, with your other managers, with your employees, with your boss? Do you want to create a more positive and productive work environment so that you can enjoy what you do and you can enjoy walking into work and stepping on that Zoom call and having those conversations with people that you work with? Are you a family member who wants to navigate family disagreements with understanding and empathy, and you want to strengthen bonds and improve communication with your loved ones? Do you want to create a more harmonious and peaceful home environment where it's serene and zen and conflict happens, but then you resolve it and it's zen and cool and calm again? Are you a friend who wants to maintain healthy relationships with your friends and know how to effectively manage and resolve conflict? And you want to seek and address differing perspectives with empathy and compassion. And you want to have deeper connections with people and have real, true, lasting friendships so that when you're 100 years old, you are still friends with these people. That's a beautiful thought, isn't it? How many of you have childhood friends out there who you still talk to, right? That's pretty cool. Those are special, really special. Maybe you are the business partner who wants to establish a solid foundation of trust and communication, and you want to resolve disagreements amicably and find mutually beneficial solutions that are win-win. And you want to build a successful and sustainable business partnership, right? Maybe you're a community leader. You want to foster understanding and cooperation with your diverse community. You want to seek and mediate. You want to seek to mediate disputes and facilitate peaceful resolutions, right? So that when conflict happens, you know how to mediate, you know how to resolve the conflict well, and you want to create and foster a more inclusive and collaborative community environment. So this 10-day challenge is really for anybody who wants to develop stronger communication and interpersonal skills. You are seeking to manage conflict in a healthy and constructive way. You're not ignoring it. You're not trying to sweep it under the rug. You're not trying to avoid that person because there's only so much of that you can do before it backfires. Maybe you want to build a more fulfilling relationship with the people around you and create a more positive impact on the world and in your community and in your environment and in your home and in your workplace and wherever else you spend time and make connections with people. So if any of these scenarios resonate, then this 10-day Confident Conflict Management Challenge will empower you with the skills and confidence you need to transform conflict into opportunity. And I love that paradigm of conflict transforming into opportunity because conflict is a very natural part of life and sometimes important, right? Because it means that you're standing up for something that is important to you. But you know what's also really important? Being able to resolve conflict, because that creates a type of opportunity not only to understand the person, but the opportunities you will create together as well, right? And being able to communicate those opportunities and desires and needs and thoughts and opinions. Super important. So this challenge is going to help you unleash your potential, right? You're going to learn your unique strengths, your conflict management styles. You're going to build unbreakable bonds, right? Because these communication skills are going to stay with you forever. They're going to improve your life. They're going to improve your workplace interactions as well, because guess what? We interact with people, and that's a beautiful thing. We're social creatures. Think about how many people you talk to today, even if it was online or on the phone or via email or Slack. We're communicating with people. Unless you live in a cave all by yourself in Antarctica, you're probably communicating with people a lot, frequently, every day. And even in the cave in Alaska or Antarctica, whatever I said, you're still probably communicating with people. Resolve conflicts like a pro. You know how to resolve conflicts, and fast and smoothly and in a really positive way. You create a positive impact, contribute to a more harmonious and productive work environment, and also home environment and social environment, in life, at work. And you're going to boost your confidence. You get to speak your truth, share your ideas, share your opinions, share your beliefs, share your personal feelings, whatever it is, and advocate for yourself, right? And guess what? When you do these things, people will be inspired by that. They will respect you for it. They'll say, wow, where did you learn how to do that? And if they don't say it to your face, they will be thinking that. They will be thinking that. So what are you going to learn? This is a little glimpse of what you'll learn on this 10-day journey. Active listening. Learn to truly hear and understand others. It's going to help you build rapport and create trust with people, which is the foundation of solid connections at work and in life. Express yourself with assertiveness, right? Communicate your needs clearly, your feelings clearly and confidently without getting aggressive, without being passive aggressive, but you do it like a pro, like a confident communicator. Prevent conflict before it starts. Sometimes we can prevent it. Not always, but sometimes we can. And so you'll be able to identify personal triggers and potential triggers and take these proactive measures to create a peaceful, harmonious environment. Mediating with confidence. So you'll learn how to facilitate constructive dialogue and also help others find a win-win solution. Because even if you're not, a formal mediator, let me give you an example. 2 friends of yours are having an argument and it's ruining your group chat. It's ruining your group dynamics, your friendship. You come in as the mediator and say, look, here's what we're going to do, right? And you are that neutral third party that is able to help them resolve that conflict. And then you have your group back. You have your friends back. As simple as that. Building resilience, right? Resilience is huge. It is one of the most important skills for life. I firmly, truly believe that. So you'll develop the inner strength to bounce back from setbacks, bounce back from failure, bounce back from conflicts, and face any kind of conflict or situation like that with more courage and more composure. So that's a little bit of what you'll learn. That's just a glimpse. Some things that you'll gain, some results that you will have by the end of it. You will have a toolkit of proven strategies, things like active listening, assertive communication, mediation techniques, conflict resolution frameworks. The list goes on. I couldn't conclude them all in here because then the slide would be that big. Supportive community, right? You can connect with our fellow community members and participants. There are activities that you're going to do together collaboratively where you share experiences, you learn from each other's success, both in our forum space and in our video space. You will also get personalized feedback. So when you submit your worksheets, our expert guidance is there, right? You will get tailored advice to enhance your conflict management skills. And at the end of the day, you will have a beautiful badge of honor that you can proudly display on your profile. And in fact, if you go into the community, you'll see some members on their page, they've been awarded various badges based on various milestones. So different challenges they've completed and other things. So you can always view that there, and you yourself can earn one of these badges as well as a certificate, right? So you can show your employer that and also be proud of your accomplishment. It's quite amazing. So how is this going to help you at work and in life? If you're wondering that, I would love to share. So at work, you're going to improve communication and collaboration with your colleagues, with your team members, with your managers, with your bosses, with your clients. You will resolve conflicts at work quickly and effectively. They will not linger on and on as they might have used to, minimizing disruptions and then boosting productivity. And everybody is happy again, and you feel good about going to work, and you feel good about your job, and you feel good about yourself, building stronger relationships with your clients and your partners. This also increases job satisfaction, loyalty, enhancing your leadership skills by effectively managing team dynamics and fostering a positive work environment so that you're happy to go to work, you're happy to do your job, you're happy to interact with your colleagues. And guess what? You will also become a more valued employee. Why? Because you demonstrate emotional intelligence and conflict resolution expertise. And guess what? You stand out that way. You stand out, and you might even rise to a leadership role. Showing your communication skills like that, showing your conflict resolution and emotional intelligence abilities helps you stand out. What about in life? Well, you'll strengthen your relationships with your friends and your family members by learning to use empathy and to navigate disagreements effortlessly. Also, reducing stress and anxiety that you associate with conflict, because when conflict happens, our cortisol shoots up. That's not a fun feeling. That's not a fun feeling, right? So if we can figure out, and we know with these strategies that I have in the 10-day challenge and the programs and the worksheets and everything, you will feel much more confident tackling challenge. You'll do it more quickly and easily, and it will help improve mental health and overall emotional well-being, which at the end of the day, I think everybody wants, right? Communicating more effectively in all areas of your life, fostering deeper connections with people, better understanding, developing greater self-awareness and emotional intelligence. These are valuable skills that really benefit you throughout all aspects of your life, and they stick with you. Once you learn them and you practice them, guess what? They never leave. You get better and better and better and better at them. And you become a more confident and influential individual by mastering the art of conflict resolution and being able to become a confident conflict manager. So how do you join? Well, if you are part of either of these plans, you will have access immediately starting on Monday when I release the challenge. It's currently in the community, but I have not released it yet because Monday is our start day. I'm giving people time to sign up, and very excited about this. So Monday is July 22nd, and that's when we go live with the challenge. That's when I reveal it to all of you, and I'm super excited about it, and I think you might be too, because you did join this call, right? So if you are in the Explearning Academy self-study program, you will have access to this 10-day challenge and all of the activities and events and worksheets and resources and modules associated with this 10-day challenge. And if you are part of our full access program, which is the live coaching and feedback program that gives you access to that in addition to the community platform, then you will also have access to this 10-day challenge. Not to mention the other several challenges that we have out there, which at this point, it's like almost 10 or so challenges. So, I mean, that's pretty awesome. So not only are you getting access to this challenge, but you get access to our previous challenges, some of which I mentioned, right, in this call. So all of them are based on communication and helping you become a better leader, better communicator at work and in life, because communication is essential if you want to be a thriving human being, which I think we all do at the end of the day. So either of these programs and plans will grant you access. Some of what to expect, every day you've got a module, so a video, a worksheet that's an interactive worksheet that you actually you can save it as a PDF, and you will submit it for feedback if that's something that you would want. And then you get to communicate with the other participants. You have quests that you work on together as well. And there's a component where you get to communicate via video with other participants so that you can share your wins, share your perspectives, work on, the certain activities and tasks together. Because it is a community, and it's an amazing community, and everyone brings so much amazing perspectives and insights and experiences, and a phenomenal group of international professionals that I'm so happy to have in this blossoming community of ours, Explearning Academy. So that's a little peek inside our challenge. This was a very long webinar. I'm so happy that you joined. Please do watch the replay for, revisiting the strategies that we discussed and different, things that we talked about in this session. And then I hope to see you on Monday, July 22nd for our challenge launch. So we're running it starting Monday. And like I said, you will also have access to the other challenges that are there. Different challenges in our community. So many wonderful challenges that, people do, our members do, and then sometimes they even go back and do them again, or they go and revisit a certain module that they wanted to revisit. And it's really, they're great resources for you. So thank you for joining me. Thanks for showing up and investing in yourself. And if you are keen on joining, then you can just go to academy.explearning.co and you can sign up for either of those plans that we discussed that will give you access to our 10-day challenge that starts on Monday. All right, everybody, take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day or your evening, depending on where you are in the world. And I can't wait to see you in the community. Bye for now.